And at the end of the movie, they say something that I thought was really profound, which was, look, this is the house we live in. It was built on racism. It was built on all kinds of injustices, right? And the bones of the house have problems. And in her case, it was a framing, foundational problem. So it's been built badly over the years.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are back with Bill Maher's Club Random podcast, and today he has an annoying feminist on. What else? Called Kara Swisher. I have no idea who she is. Never heard of her before, but I think we all get the picture right away. She's an annoying feminist. She's going to talk a bit about, racism, of course. What else is there to talk about when you're an annoying feminist or an annoying woke-tard or an annoying liberal or an annoying progressive? They always come back to that. And yeah, let's see what Bill Maher has to say. He kind of, he puts up with her, but there's a lot of pushback coming from Bill Maher on this. So let's get into it.
Interviewed Ava DuVernay about it. But at the end of the movie, my favorite part of it was she lives in this house, and it's about Isabel's life. And she lives in this house, and there's a scene where she runs into a plumber who's fixing the basement, which is leaking, and there's a lot of mold. He's wearing a Trump hat, Make America Great Again hat. And she doesn't know what to do because here's a black woman with the makeup. It was really tense. Like, you're sort of like, oh no, this is going to be a problem. So they have a really actually good conversation about his life, which was, she made it about his life and they didn't get into this trope of who they each were, liberal black woman, Trump, white guy. And at the end of the movie, they say something that I thought was really profound, which was, look, this is the house we live in. It was built on racism. It was built on all kinds of injustices, right? And the bones of the house have problems. And in her case, it was a framing, foundational problem. So it's been built badly over the years. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but there's a lot of bad things.
Right.
That's not really what we need to be arguing about anymore. What we should argue about is what we're going to do with it now.
Exactly.
And that was a really interesting, and I thought, okay, that's a way to get people, and you don't excuse what happened.
No.
Because I think what's happening in the South about pretending it didn't happen is fucking bullshit.
Let's live in the year we're living in.
Right, but you have to live in the world we're living with a knowledge of the world we live in.
And the year we're living in carries the scars of the past. This past lives on in the present. Mm-hmm. Like, history lives on in the moment we're living in.
Except that some people are indeed trying to erase it.
Yes.
100%.
Some people are trying to erase it, and some people are trying to exaggerate it.
I'm more against the erasers than the exaggerators. I can take the exaggerators.
Well, there is a lot of weaponization of white...
Certainly.
Look at that. You agreed I didn't even get to the end of the sentence.
Go ahead.
No, I'm glad. Please, cut me off.
But I don't know why you have to equalize them, because the erasers are the real danger of that.
No, I disagree. I think there's a lot of bad that comes from people weaponizing white guilt, is what I was going to say, because you preach, on the one hand, like Joe Biden the other day, that you have to work 10 times as hard, that the world is just so stacked against you, which is not, first of all, it's not true. It can be somewhat stacked against you, and it can help you somewhat to be
The world is stacked against a great many people, in all sorts of ways. And often, and not just on racial terms or ethnic terms or whatever, just where you're born makes a difference. Not just where in the world, where in a given country, where, in a given family, of a given socioeconomic status, or the type of family, the type of parents, all these things make a difference. And often, extreme, what's the word I'm looking for? Extreme hardship can drive people to excel, drive people to get out of where they are. Whereas extreme comfort can do the opposite. It's not always the case, but it can happen. So you can't, trying to create an equal baseline for everybody, like everyone starts off in the same place, which basically is what a lot of these policies have been trying to do for going on 60 years now in the United States, and happening here in Europe too, including in Belgium where I live. They're trying to create, everybody starts off on the same equal footing. That's just impossible. It's impossible. It's evil to even attempt that. People are not equal. They never will be. I'm not equal to myself the person I was yesterday. I'm not equal to the person I was 10 years ago. It's madness, it's crazy, it's destructive, it's anti-civilizational, and it's evil, quite simply. So what I would say when she was talking about the erasers, the people who want to erase history and not talk about it, I would say it's the leftists who want to erase history. They want to start every year as year zero. This is day zero in the new era. No, 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 no. All this has been discussed before. They were discussing this in the 1960s, in the run up to the passage of the Civil Rights Act, and in the immediately afterwards. You know, this has been talked about for decades now, and it has not worked. It has made things worse. All these liberal, great society type policies have made everything worse. They are destructive. Now, why have they been implemented when they're so obviously destructive? Well, you can go down many conspiracy theory holes with that, but the fact is they are evil and destructive. And yes, I think leftism itself should be erased, and we should go back to a good point in history. We don't have to go back to everything. Everything doesn't have to be the same. You know, people often say, "Oh, you want to go back to 1950 when everybody, there in the United States there was Jim Crow, and we had no had bad dentistry." And no, 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 just some sane common sense, a sane common sense baseline standard for society would be nice, though.
A person of color. I certainly know this personally, anecdotally from people. So, and of course, there are statistics about it. I mean, I think a third of, was it in 2022, a third of white kids applying to college lied and said they
About the
were.
racial thing. I understand that.
They said they were people of color. Okay, so I'm not saying racism is over or that it's all better to be black. No, but it's a lot more complicated than it used to be.
Except that the erasure or the banning of books, I think, is a very different. That is,
Sorry to interrupt again. So you got this banning of books trope or claim that has been going around for years now. Everybody, all the liberals, all the media, the liberal media outlets, even the Guardian in the UK, are always talking about books being banned in America. It's tragic. And then you walk into like a bookstore in America, and there's a table up near the front door that says these are all books which are banned. Buy them here, like there's some kind of resistance against book banning. And I'm always like, if books were banned, if these books were actually banned, you wouldn't be able to sell them. There are no banned books in America. All books are freely available wherever you buy books. If they don't have them in stock, you can order it, or you can just buy it online. We all know where. They're not illegal. They're not banned. It's absolute nonsense. Book banning? Yes, of course, school libraries have to make choices about what books they buy and don't buy. Obviously, just like if you go to a public library, you don't find porno magazines in the magazine rack of a public library. There are certain standards we maintain in a civilized society. Okay, it's very simple. And in a school library, no, we should not have books which are teaching children, which are basically pornographic books for children, teaching them sex acts of all kinds. It's insane, and it's again, it is evil. So this book banning thing just needs to be stomped out immediately. If I hear anybody say it, I just say what I just said. It's ridiculous.
people who have had
But
years.
erasure, you mean like not teaching black?
Like real history, actual history. And by the way,
I
the
think
way
that,
we
I think
were
that's
taught history.
mostly a bullshit charge. I mean, I was
think-
was in that all-white town we talked about before, New Jersey, like in the 1960s. We learned what slavery was, and we learned it
Yes.
was wrong.
That's correct, and that's the way it should be taught.
Right, and it was. I'm saying, but this is an all-white town in 1968, and they weren't erasing
So
history.
why is the Republican Party obsessed with not talking about it anymore?
Because part of it is a reaction to what
Talking
happened.
about it too much.
Yes. Part of it is a reaction to the 1619 kind of idea, Kendi and Robin DiAngelo, that racism is everything. That everything, that's what critical race theory really means. We have to see everything. And I would agree, it is America's biggest, baddest, awfulest sin. There's no close second. But not everything is racism. That's the kind of theme
But do you actually think everyone, I think what happens is certain people get outsized attention for this stuff, for some of it, which is nonsense, it's over the top, and they get You know, Tom Wolfe wrote about it 100 years ago, about, you know, the meeting with the Black Panthers.
Not really 100 kids,
Well,
if you don't know Tom
100, but
Wolfe.
Tom Wolfe wrote that wonderful piece, which is great. Joan Didion did it. Others did it.
Yeah.
And those were great to point out the idiocy.
Radical chic.
Radical chic.
Yeah.
Everyone was right to point that out.
What
and
year was that, we imagine?
60s, 70s.
60s?
70s, right? 70s.
I think Joan Didion was 70s, but
70s.
late 60s, 70s. Yeah,
So it
in
was
other
fine
words,
to point
kinda,
it out, but more corrosive. And I, as someone who's grew up gay in America, I can tell you it's very hard, and you have to do a lot of work not to be pissed off about it. I'm not, because I felt great about being gay. But I can tell you, you can see how corrosive it was on so many levels in the
Yes.
way society. And so it takes a much stronger person not to have been affected by it. And it's really hard.
I always
It really
say-
is. And I'm not asking for.
No, I always say there's two ways you can see an issue not clearly. You can be too far from it. Racially, I will admit to that. I'm too far from it. I'm not black, basically. So I cannot
you're
know.
not.
I cannot know it.
Yeah. This, of course, there's a reaction to it now because this has been going on for decades. It's ridiculous. It is in the past. The policies, liberal policies, have made everything worse in the West, across the West. They are continuing to make them worse. And yeah, there's a major pushback, and I hope that pushback can't just go back a little bit to 5 or 10 years ago. It has to go back decades. There is a lot of damage to undo across many areas, in education, in culture, in politics, in, you know, key issues like immigration and mass migration, in being proud of Western civilization and the people who built it, which are Europeans. Not just Europeans here in Europe, where I live, but the Europeans who settled and built other countries, like all the English-speaking countries, for example. Yeah, so make of that what you will. Maybe you think it's a hot take, but that's just the way it is. You know, Europeans, my ancestors, built those countries. And they have to take pride in it. You know, us current day people have to take pride in that and not give it up. Don't just roll over and let others destroy it. So let me know what you think in the comments about that. Am I going too far? I don't think so. I don't think I'm going far enough. Also, all this talk about racism is nonsense. You know, utter nonsense. I really don't care if racism exists. Of course it does. Everybody knows that. It exists everywhere. You want to see a racist place? Go to Africa. Go to an African country. You know, go to South Africa. Go to Congo. See how the different ethnic groups, different tribes like each other. You'll see plenty of racism there. Go to China. Go to Japan. Go to India. Yeah, all this white guilt BS. Fear of racism or a fear of being called a racist is nonsense, and just drop it. Just let it go. If somebody calls you a racist, so yeah, so okay, is that all you got? Next question. Anyway, again, another hot take. I'll leave you there for today. Thank you all for all the subscribes I've been getting recently. Pushed it over 6,000 subscribers. I'm very, very thrilled about that. Next up, 10,000. So keep on commenting, keep on subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.